We have a curve y equals x cubed minus 3x squared. Find the coordinates of the points on the curve for which the tangents of the curve have a slope of 9. Let me show you what that means. Here is a diagram of that curve. Is everybody happy that the curve is a diagram of that? If you were asked to graph it out, it'd look like that. Okay. Now, it says it has to have a tangent. And what does a tangent mean? It has to have a line that only touches it once. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do next is see the line to the right. See the line to the right? That's a line that has a slope of 9. Okay. So if I put this slope in here, is it a tangent? Because it goes through it more than once. If you're wondering where it goes through it the second time, if I just keep tracking the two lines down this way, they're going to collide all the way down here. You see them getting closer and closer and closer, right? Now, so I have to maneuver the line in such a way that it only touches once. So look at this. So I'm going to go over this side, and where am I thinking? I think there. Does that, and I can zoom in if I want. See if it only touches once. You can see there, it looks like it's only going to touch once, doesn't it? See the way it's a straight line, and then they separate after that. So that point there is a point that they touch once in. What is that point? 3, 0. Will somebody make a note of that point 3, 0 for me? Okay, so 3, 0 is one of the points we're talking about there. Okay, I'm going to get the line again, and I'm going to move it over the other side. Now, once again, if I'm in here, it doesn't count because it's going to hit twice. But when I go over the other side, let me see where this is. I think it's this one here. Only hits once now as well, doesn't it? And what point is that? Minus 1, 4. So 3, 0 and minus 1, 4. Now let's be honest, you haven't got the liberty of doing that in a test, drawing it out that quickly and moving across like a computer program. You haven't got that liberty, okay? So what I'm trying to explain, do you understand that it's a tangent of slope 9. It only hits the graph once. That's what it means, okay? Now, what happens is you go back to your diagram. Now, you won't have this luxury in the exam. This is just for teaching purposes. 3, 0 is 1 point, and I said the other point is minus 1. Was it minus 4, was it? Minus 4 as well. So minus 1, minus 4, my bad. Okay, so it's minus 1, minus 4. Now, what we're looking at here, guys, is we have to find the point. So our whole job is to find out 3, 0 and minus 1, minus 4. Is everybody happy with that? We have to find that a certain way. Now here's how we're going to find it. When you see the word tangents and slope, what's the one thing you do? What chapter are we in? So, differentiate. So when you see the word slope, tangent, to find the slope of the tangent, you need to differentiate. So differentiate, and what do we get? 3x squared minus 6x, and then the whole thing equals 9. Okay, we've done that part. Now, we're going to move this over to your, there's only one option, isn't there? Solve it. Like when you have something that looks like this, you have no point to plug in, don't you know? So you're told the slope equals 9. When you're told the slope equals 9, it means your first derivative equals 9. Move the 9 over to your side. What happens now? Now you have 3 ways of doing this. The first way you can do is the minus b formula, where a equals 3, b equals minus 6, c equals minus 9. Second way you can do it is divide everything by 3, and you get x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. And then you can solve a simple reference number. How do you solve a simple reference number, lads? And it is? Sorry? So the reference number is minus 3, and therefore it's going to be minus 3 plus 1. So minus 3 and plus 1. Alright, and then you go down, and you go, okay, x equals 3, because x minus 3 equals 0, x equals 3, and then the other one? Now, what you notice about this minus 1 and 3 doesn't match up to the answers that we predicted at the start. There's your 3 right there, and there's your minus 1. So they match to the answers we predicted via the graph, okay? Now, it says points. This means we also need a y value. Is everybody happy with that? We also need a y value. So in order to get the y value, look at this here. We can do this the lazy way. Do you remember how we drew the graph back in graphs? So what you can do is you can get your calculator, alright? And we can do there is you can put in a mode table, and you can say y equals x cubed minus 3x squared, and we want minus 1 to be in our answer, don't we? And we also want 3 to be in our answer. Have a look down now. Minus 1, minus 4, as predicted. Minus 1, an x value of minus 1 gives us a y value of minus 4. Go down a bit further. X value of 3 will give us a y value of 0. Once again, as predicted. Okay? So, that's one of them done, okay? Now, the next thing I need to go over you guys with is what happens with this type of question here. They'll give you two different types of question. They'll either say find the coordinates of the points on the curve, this curve here, which tangents to the curve makes an angle of 135 degrees with the positive sense of the x-axis. What on God's green earth does that mean? Okay, so lads, what this means is when you have an x-y axis, okay, if I said it makes a 45 degree angle, okay, 45 degree angle would be an angle that comes up like that. Would you agree with that? And it's 45 degrees with the positive sense of the x-axis. Do you know what the positive sense of the x-axis means? The positive sense of the x-axis means this part here. The line makes a 45 degree angle with the positive part, Sean. 45 degree angle with a positive part of the x-axis. Is everybody happy with that? Now, just to really sell this point home, okay, you're just basically, if you take this down here, right, you just basically say, look, it's roughly, I'm just slightly off, but it's 45 degrees, okay, it's meant to be 45 degrees anyway. So, that's it in there. Now, what happens next is, they'll also ask you for what happens when it's at 135 degrees. So 135 degrees, if we start here, 135 degrees would be where, guys? That's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, that's 90, 100, 110. Do you see the numbers I'm taking? The lower numbers, 120, and then 135 is in that direction there. Okay? Now, that line there is now making 135 degrees to the positive x-axis. Okay? Now, what we have to find out is, what is the slope of the two of these? Okay? Now, the slope is, the first one was 45 and the second one was 135, okay? So if we go back to the 45 degree one, starting off first. So the 45 degree one, what you have to remember about 45 degrees is that it goes up the same amount. It goes one up, one across and one up to make 45 degrees, okay? So if you go back to a regular one of these, file new, to make a 45 degree angle, I simply have to go up the same amount. So if I go 3 across, 3 up, that's a 45 degree angle. If I go 1 across, 1 up, that's a 45 degree angle. If I go 5 across, 5 up, that's a 45 degree angle. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah. Alright, so it's always, and there's one thing about this, okay, is that your slope, at whatever angle you're given, if you get tan of that angle, it gives you the slope. So for example, tan 45 equals 1. The slope of a line that makes a 45 degree angle with the x-axis is tan 45. The slope of an angle that makes 135 degrees with the positive x-axis is, write in tan 135 and you get out minus 1.
How do you know it's tan?
Okay, do you remember I said 1 across, 1 down?
Yeah.
Rise over run. Tan is opposite over adjacent.
Yeah.
So tan of your angle gives you the slope. That's the same thing as rise over run. If we took it for the 135 one, the 135 one basically goes -1 across, 1 up. Tan of that angle is opposite over adjacent, which is 1 over -1, which is -1. For 99% of you guys, I'm just after confusing it way too much. Here's what you need to know. Anytime you read the language, and you might want to write this in beside these questions here, anytime you see makes an angle of blank, whatever that blank is, tan that angle. So whatever it is, tan of whatever angle they give you is going to be your slope. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Now, when we go back to our original equation, okay, our original, did I onto the other one? Oh, I must have done a new one. Okay, Paddy, can you call out that graph again? Yeah, for number 4 at the end. What we're going to do here, guys, is that we know that it's tan 135 is the slope. Anytime you're given an angle with the positive regard to x-axis, you tan that angle. Okay, you're going to have to learn that off, I'm afraid, in the off chance that that actually comes up in the exam. So, tan 135. You get your slope is minus, I'm in radians, see the R? That means that I would have made a mistake in the exam. You go to mode, setup, you change it back to degrees, which is number 3, and then you press equals again, and this time you get -1. So make sure you're not in, make sure it says DE on top of your calculator, okay? So, our slope equals -1. Now, I've been at you the last 2 classes about this. When you're in this type of chapter, how do you get marks for attempting to find the slope? What chapter are we in? Differentiate. Okay? So when we differentiate, what do we get? Differentiate 2x cubed. 6x squared. Differentiate 3x squared. Differentiate minus 13x. Minus 13. This slope equals -1. You got to solve this equation here. This equation is a quadratic equation. Okay? Yeah?
How do you know it's -1 again?
The tan, for this specific question, if it says, there's another example where it's 45.
Yeah.
In that question you do tan 45 for the slope.
Yeah.
In this question you do tan 135 for the slope.
Yeah.
It's a rare question, but it can happen. It has happened. It can, could be. Yeah. Okay. Now guys, move it over. 6x squared minus 6x, bring the -1 over to your side. What happens to it? +1, minus 13 plus 1, minus 12. Pick a number that will divide into 6, -6, and 12. 6. Excuse me. 6 will do the job. X squared minus 1x minus 2 equals 0. Okay? Next thing after that, guys, is we're going to solve this. And what happens when we solve this? What do we get? X minus 2 into x plus 1. Now, for those of you who are a bit rusty with this, the reference number is -2. Break up -2 into 2 numbers that multiply to give you -2, but yet when they add, they'll give you -1. The only 2 choices are -2 plus 1 or +2 minus 1. And it has to be -2 plus 1 to get the -1 in the middle. Okay? Then you're going to get 2 answers. You're going to get x minus 2 equals 0. X equals 2. X plus 1 equals 0. X equals 1. What do we do to find the y value now? Anybody? Any ideas? What do you do to find the y value?
Substitute it in.
You can substitute it in, or you can just go to the the table function we've already used to draw the graph, and just pretend you're actually drawing the graph. So 2x cubed. What's it, minus 3x squared, isn't it? Minus 3x squared. Minus 13x Just pretend you're drawing it. Plus 2. And we'll go from, what's it about, minus 3 to 3 somewhere. What are the two numbers we want? The two numbers we want are 2 and minus 1. So let's check them out again. 2 and minus 1. So the answer for the first one is minus 1, 10. So give me a second. So the answer for the first one is minus 1, 10. And the second one is 2 minus 20. Now, will somebody keep those 2 points in mind for me? Minus 1, 10, and the second point being 2 minus 20. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, this one here, guys. Use the equation y equals mx plus c. What they're saying is that this curve has tangents which are parallel to the line y equals 24x plus 3. What is the slope of y equals 24x plus 3? 24. It's always the number that comes in front of the x when y is on its own. David? What I was trying to say there was that when y is on its own in the equation, whatever number comes in front of the x is the slope. We now know that the tangents to our line are parallel to 24. That means they themselves have a slope of 24. Is that alright? Now, once they have a slope of 24, what is the rule for these questions? What do we always do with them? We differentiate them. And when you differentiate them, what happens? 6 squared. Yeah.
6x.
Yeah.
Minus 12.
Minus 12. And it has to equal the slope. Slope is the first derivative. Okay. Bring the 24 over to the other side, and what happens? 6x squared minus 6x. Anybody? Minus 36 equals 0. After that, divided by 6. After that, reference number is minus 6. And what does that give you? Minus 3 plus 2. X minus 3. X plus 2 equals 0. What's our two answers? X equals 3. X equals minus 2. Upon completion of that, you're then going to go up to the top. You're going to use your calculator function. Do you want me to show you the other way of getting them? You know it, do you? Okay. So you go back to mode, table function. You enter in your equation as if you're drawing it yourself. We all know how to do that at this stage. Okay. And then minus 3x squared minus 12x. And then once that's done, what are the two numbers we need again? We need 3 and minus 2. So we can start it at minus 2. We can end it at 3. And we can find out our two values. So what's the point for minus 2, guys? Minus 2 what? Anybody? Minus 2 minus 4 is the first one. And what about 3? 3 what? 3 minus 9. Okay, guys. So these are a step up from the last exercise.